Philadelphia PHCS Multiplan. Today we are going to talk about Philadelphia. Philadelphia is a private health insurance plan. We use it as an alternative to the ACA, Affordable Care Act. You will see that sometimes under the ACA, there are some clients who don't qualify, either because they don't have legal status in the United States or because they make too much money on their W-2 form. In other words, they declare too much on their taxes. So Philadelphia is our solution to that problem. Philadelphia works like an IPO, independent provider organization. You don't need referrals. It's a very good plan because it's almost affordable for the client. It has a very, very low premium. You will see premiums ranging between $80 and $100, while other private plans can cost up to $500. As insurance, Philadelphia works on a 12-month basis. It's not a short-term plan like most other plans, and it is guaranteed renewable. That means that even if the client gets sick with a critical issue or a chronic illness, the plan will automatically renew without any problem. Now we're going to show you how to use the Philadelphia portal, how to use the quoting system to do everything there. So let's go. Let's go into Quick Quote. Let's enter the ZIP code in this field. Let's try, for example, 33,401, which corresponds to Palm Beach County. Let's test it with a 35-year-old male. Here you'll see that there are different filters. These filters are designed so that you can customize the policy according to your client's needs. As we know, different clients have different needs. We want to give you the opportunity to tailor the policy to the client. That way, you can offer a better price. If the client can't afford an expensive insurance plan, you can offer less coverage, and that way the premium will be lower while still offering benefits. You can adjust the deductible, increase or decrease it, etc. Let's now try $200,000 to $50,000 as the maximum benefit per year. Let's try a $2,500 deductible and 1 unit, for example. In this example, it's not showing me the exact price because I didn't select the nicotine option. You must select yes or no regarding nicotine use. If the client uses nicotine, it will be more expensive, just like with any other private or life insurance. The underwriter in Philadelphia is very similar to that of life insurance. Philadelphia is not a plan for everyone. It's a plan that can help those clients who are in good shape, have good health, and don't qualify for the ACA. There's another rider, add-on. For example, if the client is diabetic or has hypertension or another chronic illness, sometimes they won't be approved for the plan if they apply individually. For Group 1, it's guaranteed issue, so there's no problem with credit card or background history, but it does not cover pre-existing conditions. So if the client already has diabetes and applies through a group plan, they will be approved, but the diabetes will not be covered under that specific plan. Here, for example, you can see that it costs $66 for that 35-year-old client. It has a lifetime maximum benefit of $5 million. As you can see, it includes telemedicine, Cardi's Group for hospital billing, ScriptSave for prescriptions, and it operates within the PHCS network. The PHCS, or Multiplan network, is currently the largest network in the United States. Most plans work without a network, but you can view the network by going here to Multiplan. So you can go to this link here, and you can find a provider by clicking this button. When you select network, you can go here to PHCS and extended PPO. And you can enter the client's zip code, for example, 33401, and you can select what you are looking for example, a primary care doctor. You will see a list of the different providers in that area and the number of miles from the nearest highway exit. So it's a very large network. Here you can see all the doctors. To see the different coverages that the plan offers, you must always go to the outline of coverage. And here, you'll see a PDF with all the different benefits the plan includes. For example, as you can see here, it has a lifetime maximum benefit per policy of $5 million, as we saw earlier. That means that this is the maximum amount the plan will cover for all the people under the same policy. So if you have 5 people on the policy and each of those 5 people uses $1 million from the plan, you would be reaching that maximum limit. At that point, you would have exhausted the maximum and you wouldn't be able to use the plan anymore. So you have a $5 million maximum per policy, as you can see here in the full coverage. It's not per person, it's per policy. But most of the time, no one is going to use that much coverage. And you have an annual maximum per person. This one is per person, and it can range from $250,000 to $1 million. You can select between those coverage options to adjust them to your client's needs. Here you can see the deductible. What's important about the deductible is that it includes a natural credit that the company provides. This works like a discount that is applied to the deductible. For example, on a $2,500 deductible, you have a $1,000 credit, which means the client is actually only responsible for $1,500 of that deductible. So the client will only be responsible for $1,500. Here you'll be able to see all the different benefits the plan offers based on the different units. One of the good things about this plan is that it not only pays the doctor, but it also pays the client. For example, here you can see that there's a different benefit for each procedure. Let's say, for example, that you go to a primary care doctor using the quoting tool. For example, in the second unit, the benefit is $120. Let's assume you go to the doctor and present your insurance card, and the doctor only charges $100 for the visit. Then the $20 difference in that transaction will be paid to you by the plan. You'll receive a check for those $20 in difference. This is subject to how much the provider charges, but Philadelphia already has prior agreements with most of the providers within its network. So if you go to a provider within the network, the maximum that provider can charge you is $80. So for example, if you have 2 units and you go to a doctor within the network, you know that the maximum they can charge is $80. So you'll have a $40 difference that you'll receive as a payment each time you visit that primary care doctor. So here you can review all the different procedures. Here you can do the quote, see how much it costs, and then move on to the application. You go here, select the plan. You have to go to the enrollment platform. Here in the enrollment platform, you'll enter the client's zip code. Then you'll select whether it's an ACA companion plan enrollment. Why do they ask you this? Because they have a term called coordination of benefits. That means, for example, if you have a primary plan like an ACA plan, and that ACA plan pays for the doctor's visit or the procedure, Philadelphia will pay you the full benefit amount that corresponds on their coverage chart. For example, in the 2 units we saw earlier, we said it was $120. So let's say you have Oscar as your primary insurance, and you also have Philadelphia. You go to the doctor, and Oscar is the one who pays the doctor's bill, but Philadelphia will pay you the $120 directly. You will receive a check for $120 after having gone to that medical appointment. Here you select whether you have an ACA account or not. In this case, let's say no. Then you select the policy effective date. Most of the time, they require at least 1 week or more in advance for the policy to be approved and go into effect. So they will give you the date in most cases. It's not like ACA or Medicare, where the effective date is automatically the first day of the next month. Here you have more flexibility, so you can select the coverage start date here. Then you select the payment method. Is it an individual policy? Will it be paid via EFT bank transfer or with a credit card? And you have a group with underwriter and guarantee issue. UW means underwriter. That means the group will be evaluated by the underwriter. They will review the group's medical history, MBI, check for pre-existing conditions, chronic illnesses, etc. GI means guarantee issue. That means the group will be approved regardless of what the client has. That plan with GI will be a little more expensive than the one with an underwriter, but no matter the client's health status, they will be approved. That's a very good thing. But this time, we're going to do it as an individual case. To consolidate, as I mentioned before, you have EFT or CC credit card. Here it asks you for the employee ID or the affiliation code. In this case, we're not going to use it, but when you're doing group insurance for a company, you do need to enter that information as well. Okay? Here we're going to enter the client's information. If you're going to add family members in the quote or in the application, you select Add Another Person, and you can enter the relationship with the person, gender, and date of birth. First, you need to qualify the client to determine what the premium for that policy will be, and then you enter them into the application. And if the person has any medical condition and you're doing a guarantee issue, then too many points will be assigned by the underwriter, and the cost will vary depending on the severity of the condition. We add the required data. With Health Server Gold Plus, you can select the amount of coverage you want to apply for that person. For example, in this case, $57.90. But if, for example, we select 3 units, it will be $173.69. So that depends on the client's needs and how much they are willing to pay for that insurance. If the client already has another insurance plan that will cover primary care, maybe just 1 unit will be enough because they will receive the full benefit amount. That's where you need to use the quoting tool, Router, to see which option best fits the client. They have other products, but most of the time we don't sell them through this portal because the only product we sell with Philadelphia is the Health Server Gold Plus, since we believe it's the best in its category on the market. For the other products, we have other options. Here you can select others, such as the critical illness rider and other things. But as we said, don't do that now. Just select the plan and click here to continue. As you can see, each application has an initial $30 application fee. That's only for the first premium. After that, the client will be charged the regular premium you quoted at the beginning. Then you click Continue. You enter all of the client's information. You must enter all of the client's data. The client needs to have an ITIN PIN number if they don't have a social security number. For example, if you find a client who doesn't have legal documents in the United States and doesn't have an ITIN number, you can still complete the application. But if later the client goes to their account and requests an ITIN to file their taxes, then they can have the insurance letter, and in the part where it says Social Security number, you will enter the ITIN number, not a passport or anything else, just the number, date of birth, and you select the state. If the person is outside the United States, you select OC, outside country. For example, in this case, I have to select OC. You select the client's language, all the employment information. You must complete the occupation field. The beneficiary, we mark it as Y because let's say, for example, the client passes away during surgery. The benefits that were going to be paid to the client will now be paid to the beneficiary you listed in the file. This is very important in any insurance policy, even in life insurance. Always assign a beneficiary. Why? Because if you don't assign a beneficiary, the insurance company will pay depending on the state you're in. It will pay the person, entity, or corporation that the court designates to receive that money. For example, let's say that client had a debt. If they have any debt and there is no beneficiary listed on the policy, and there's also no will, that money will go through those legal processes. And that's not what you want. You want your beneficiaries to be assigned so that your family receives that money, and what needs to happen, happens. That's why it's important to assign beneficiaries. You have to answer all the client's medical questions, all the questions about their environment. There are many questions, but don't worry. Just do it anyway, one by one. Of course, when you're with the client, you'll ask each of those questions directly because you don't know exactly what the client has or doesn't have. So you must ask the client all of those questions. After filling everything out, you enter the client's doctor's name, if the client already has a doctor. Why do you have to enter this? Because sometimes the insurer wants to request a specific note that may be in the client's medical record, and they need to contact the doctor, so you have to enter it here. You also need to indicate the best time to call the client, for example, afternoon. And then it tells you, for example, press continue. So you press continue here. After pressing continue, the system will ask you who the payer is, if it's the applicant, their domestic partner, or an employer. Depending on who the payer is, you select one of the options from the drop-down menu. Then you enter the billing information for the person who will be paying for the policy and the payment details. Here you can see the actual notice that is given to the client. This will be sent to the client by mail, and it clarifies that this is a supplement to health insurance, not a replacement for medical coverage. They state this because the plan has two major shortcomings, and that's why it is not considered major medical coverage. One of them is that it does not cover the client's pregnancy. Why? Because they consider being pregnant to be a personal choice. They cover complications related to pregnancy, but they do not cover the natural process of pregnancy or childbirth. If there is a complication during pregnancy or during delivery, then they will cover that specific complication. But pregnancy itself and natural childbirth are not covered. That's why it doesn't qualify as a major medical insurance plan. The other reason is that it does not cover vaccines. They are only covered in certain major cities and only in specific hospitals within those cities. They do cover some vaccines, but they are not formally written into the plan. For example, in Miami, there's an industrial hospital where vaccines are covered, but it's not written in detail within the plan, and that's why it's not considered a major medical plan. So I've already reviewed everything, and it's complete. You clicked continue, and they asked me for a number. Here you will see who the producer/agent is, and also if there's any commission split. For example, if you're closing a policy that was referred to you by another agent, you can enter their writing number here and the commission amount that person will receive. You can also split commission on this type of policy, just like with life insurance. Here you indicate whether you personally know the applicant or not. Then you select the affidavit where you affirm that you collected all the recorded information from the family, that you're not going to replace any prior coverage, or if you are going to replace it, and that you delivered or made available the whole loan coverage to the client. Here you select whether you want the policy to be sent to you or if you want it sent directly to the insured. That depends on what you prefer. Most of the time, it's selected to be sent to the insured so they receive it directly, but you can select to have it delivered to you. That way you can physically hand deliver the policy yourself and take advantage of that contact moment to offer the client another product and help them with their life insurance or another service. Here, you enter your signature and select Submit. The insurance application option is only used when doing an individual application. When you're closing a national group, you select Submit an Enrolling Association, which means you're going to submit multiple applications for that group. So you can also do it that way.